Now, they're here. Their success has been staggering. In the space of 2 short years, they've gone from talent show hopefuls to the biggest boy band of a generation. With 3 UK #1 singles, 4 times platinum debut album and 2 Brit Awards, they are the most successful group of all time to emerge from the X Factor.
They shared a stage with Usher. They've also worked with a roll call of international pop and R&B production talent whose collective CVs take in the likes of Rihanna, Neo and the Black Eyed Peas. JLS join us now.
JLS, welcome to Ireland.
Hello.
Right.
How are you?
Now, the whole world knows who you are, but for those of us over 50 who might not know who you are, Aston, Orisha, Marvin, JB.
Yes.
Well done, Marvin.
By the way, can I ask you a question? Were you slagging off his dancing during that?
Yeah, definitely. If you watch one bit, he starts going... and where the beat's going... He's giving it slow motion, so I don't get why...
There was a sexy girl in front of me. I just had, you know, I was dancing with her, you know, I was giving it all that, spinning her, all sorts on the dance floor. You know, you got to be a gentleman on the dance floor.
Yes, that's true. But that's a bit personal, though, slagging off you. I mean, if you slagged off his singing, how would he feel about it?
I know. He'd run a riot. Exactly. It's all good. It's all good. It's all love.
Guys,
Good morning,
you're not strangers to Ireland.
No.
You're very familiar with Ireland.
Very
and I'm going to start, actually, because people think you're all famous and you've got loads of money and all the rest of it, but you're still very, very nice guys, because I want to talk about this. Mark and me just received this. A lovely lady from Dolores from Galway rang in, and she said you met a relative of hers called Kathleen, who lives in the UK, and you met her when she was in an airport, and she was very, very unwell. And she was so unwell she was taken to hospital, and you met her in the airport and you made a big impression of her, and you followed her and found out where she was, and you went to the hospital and you saw her in the hospital, and Dolores from Galway just wanted to ring in and thank all of you for doing that, which seems above and beyond the call of any celebrity I've ever met, to be fair. What happened? Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, we'd just done the Childline gig over in Ireland, and literally, you know, in the early mornings you're in an airport, and we just kind of wasn't paying attention to anything, and this gentleman came up to us and said, "Oh, do you mind coming over and meeting my nan?" And we was like, yeah, of course, no worries. And, you know, she said she followed us through the show, and, you know, she really loved us and stuff, and we was just like, you know, that's amazing that she's, you know, followed us from the very beginning, you know, and stuff, and yeah, we had to make sure we went down to the hospital. We even sang to her in the middle of the hospital, so we've been told to be quiet by everyone else.
You sang to her in the hospital?
Yeah.
She called us her boys.
Yeah. I actually met, I think it was her daughter or a granddaughter in Sainsbury's.
Shopping,
and she said, "Oh, do you remember my nan?" and showed me a picture on the phone. I said, "Absolutely." And I called up the boys and, you know, said, "Look, we got to go down to the hospital." And on the way, we were going somewhere, but on the way, we just stopped at the hospital and made a surprise visit. And as Aston said, we sang to her and stuff. And she had like a picture of us by her bed, you know, with her in it and stuff. And it was pretty an incredible moment, actually. It makes you realise how you can actually change people's lives doing what we do every day.
Well, fair play to you guys. Let's go back in time. Let's go back. Because Alan was saying, actually, that the first time he met you was on the night of the X Factor final, and you were in the last 2, and he said you didn't think you were going to make it.
No, I mean, that was probably a turning point in our lives, I suppose, you know. It could have easily been taken away from us. I think that was week 6 of 10 or something like that.
But did you really not think you were going to get it, or were you just plumossing and saying, "Oh, we don't think we'll get it"?
You know, you never know, because with that show you can go to deadlock, and you know, you could have just been unlucky to have been the bottom person that week. But fortunately, we survived, and, you know, we obviously got through to the final and came second, and everything's been great since. You know?
You've been, the curse of winning it.
Yeah.
Well, you all know about that. But the good fortune of being number 2, I mean, it seems you're better off not actually winning it and doing what you've done and forging a proper career. Because let's face it, nobody remembers, well, they barely remember who the winner was 2 years ago.
Who won in your year, actually?
Alexander Burke, who has a career, in fairness, and will have a good career.
I think it's down to the person, you know. For us, obviously, we put ourselves together before we did the show, and we'd sort of been trying to make our own way, sort of, before we then decided to go and do the show. So I think we always had that desire and always had the dream, obviously, of becoming maybe what we are today.
Who was the template for you? I mean, in terms of when you were growing up, you come from a black R&B soul boy tradition. I'd be right, that's fair enough. So when you were growing up, who were the bands that you admired? Who were the posters on your wall? Who were the guys you went, well, if I'm going to be in a band, that's the kind of band I want to be in?
Definitely the Jackson 5 and Boyz II Men and Jagged Edge, a bit more contemporary, and Next and those kind of guys. And
Boys to Men, whoa.
yeah,
Flashback.
we actually met them. You know,
Did you?
Yeah, they wanted to have. They came over to the
Vocal
UK.
harmony group.
They're incredible.
Amazing singers.
Incredible.
You know though as well, you have to look at bands like Westlife and Boyzone and take that and look at their careers. And you know, for us, that's the sort of career we want to emulate. You know, those guys have been in the business 10, 12, 14 years now. And
So do you all still want to be doing this like 30, 40 years time? Is that the plan? Of course.
But I was just thinking that if you were born in another era, would you see yourselves as being a Motown band or a Philadelphia? Is that the kind of band that you see yourselves as?
Depending obviously what area you are obviously from and what area I suppose you kind of grew up in and the people around you, you know what I mean? So it's obviously the vibe you catch then as well. You could definitely...
To be fair, Louis on our first audition said that we reminded him of a Motown R&B band, and that was because obviously we came in singing vocal, a cappella and harmony and stuff, and going forward on the show, that's when we kind of diversified and showed that we could dance and that we could sing any song that they put to us, you know, and that we were a vocal harmony group, you know, basis, but we could do also a lot more than that.
Well, you know the way all the most famous black vocal bands basically came from the church. Do you have a church background, choir background, stuff like that?
I do. My family, yeah. My family are very musical and very. I was in a church choir when I was younger, and JB as well. So yeah, I think a mixture.
How about? It's always been very difficult for black UK artists to crack America. You know, it's you know it's very difficult. You're kind of bringing their music back to them.
Yeah.
But you seem to have a decent shot at it.
Well, the thing with us is that, you know, one of the reasons we call ourselves Jack the Lad Swing is because we wanted to maintain a British origin, as it were, although we're doing music that I suppose, you know, you could call R&B or R&B pop, you know? So for us, it was just a case of taking over there what we love to do and what we're about, you know, and we don't ever want to forget that because it's kind of become our identity over the time that we've been a group. So,
Guys, time is against us as always. So the important thing is your tour dates.
Yes.
Tell us all.
Yes. We're
25th of June we're in Belfast, and the 26th of June we're at Thomond Park in Limerick. Doing a big outdoor show.
These are big outdoor shows.
Oh, yeah, huge. Yeah.
All the bells and whistles, rockets, explosions.
20,000 people
Umbrellas.
jumping around.
And a special guest, Ollie Murs, as well, is going to be on
Yeah,
there.
he's supporting, which is going to cause much excitement.
Have you done these big outdoor shows before?
we did a summer tour last year, but not on this scale. You know, we're doing, I think, maybe 20 to 25,000 people.
Is it terrifying?
Well, it's the biggest. It's the biggest audience we've had as a headliners.
Yeah.
So,
Do you get scared, guys? You love it. You love the crowd.
It's more exciting than scared, I think. Obviously, the adrenaline goes and you get the nerves, but it's, you know, more excitement.
Look at you, you're so laid back. You don't get nervous about anything. Guys, you're going to stay with us because after the break are thousands of texts and phone calls that we've had coming in all morning. We're going to put a few of those to you. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you.